All right, let's talk about how to get unstuck in life and start listening to the pull and not the push. Okay. And so when I think about this, I think that so many of you are stuck. All right. You're stuck, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out, you're constantly grinding, and you're just in this place of hustle. This hustle culture has really messed us up. And it's made us feel like the harder we work, the more results we're going to get. And that is true to an extent, but it's not a long haul, long form way of being. And I want to show you how to do something different. And here's why. What if that hustle culture is actually working against you in the long run, right? What if it's the actual reason at this point you've been hustling so long or pushing so hard that you're actually stuck? All right. Because when you're forcing something that isn't aligned, that is when everything starts to really get difficult. You feel like you're pushing this boulder up the hill and you're not getting what you really need to sustain the long haul. That's what we're talking about. Because if you want to talk about grinding and you want to talk about what's important, if you are able to sustain the consistency over time, that I guarantee you will get you the result. But if you hustle and grind, you will burn out and you won't be able to do that. This is why you want to shift from force to flow, right? So you can handle this long haul, so you can really experience what alignment really feels like. So it's not that it becomes effortless, all right? But it's that you feel good in the movement. You feel like you're in the current, you're in the flow, and you're not just pushing and grinding every day. Like I wake up and I'm excited, I'm motivated. I'm like, let's do this. I want to get this ball rolling. There were times in my life, I'll give you an easy example, that I just went through the craziest 6 months of my life. I mean, we're talking death, loss of partner, loss of business, loss of all these things, had to move from the country I was in. And what I found was I was stuck and I was frozen. I couldn't flow. Right. And what happens is that same type of trauma that I experienced, that's why I couldn't flow, is the same type of trauma you experience when you subject yourself over long periods of time to high levels of stress without having alignment. It's the same thing. And you will freeze and you won't have the consistency you want. Listen, I know what you're thinking. Hard work is the only way to succeed. And I'm not going to lie to you, hard work is super important, but we talked about it before. We've got to think about the long haul, okay? You can't just keep exhausting yourself. It doesn't work that way. So, what if stop pushing, right, really meant that you were actually just aligning, okay? Right? What if it was actually the opposite? Is if I stop pushing, nothing's going to happen. What if it was the opposite? What if that was true? What if we just allowed that to flow around in our mind for a second? What if the opposite is, I think it's this way, but is it possible that it could be this way and it could be easier and it could flow better? So I think about this and I think about like, oh, okay, like, but I don't know what I really want. That's because you've been too busy, right? Listening to this push, grind, whatever, instead of listening to your deep intuition, your inner knowing. And what we want to tap into is this inner knowing that pulls you to the direction of your purpose. Right? That's what we want to tap into. And I'm going to give you a really cool tip right now on how to do that. Okay, this is tip number one. We want to notice what energizes you and what drains you, okay? Like aligned effort fuels you, okay? I want you to think about, do I feel fueled? Do I feel pumped up? Forced effort, it depletes you, okay? So pay attention to what excites you and pay attention to what really creates struggle in your life. Because if you're drained by something, I want you to ask yourself, why am I even attached to doing this? If it's draining you, you're not doing it the right way. So think about what is fueling me and what is draining me. You have to write this stuff down. You have to think about it. You have to feel it in your body, or this tip's not going to work. But I promise you, if you lean to the things that pull you and you shy away from what's pushing you, you will have a tremendous difference in your outputs and your ability to create success. Listen, I've experienced this firsthand, okay? There were so many times when I was grinding, forcing things to work, trying to make something happen, and it just wasn't clicking, okay? And so this happened to me so many times. It happened to me in relationships. It happened to me in business. Okay. And I felt like I was trying to fit this square peg in this round hole. And the worst part is if you're attached to that outcome, it feels nearly impossible, okay, to let go of it. It's like you can't let go because you're attached to the idea of it. So you're literally now addicted to the grind. And I want to give you a little bit of some stories about how I betrayed myself in the past, right? And then I also want to give you some stories about how I listened to that pull and I didn't betray myself. And you're going to see the difference right now in the way that it really affected my life and how much easier and flowing it made it. So I'm going to give you a relationship example. And I remember this very vividly. Okay. So when it comes to relationships, like they're very important to me. I love being in love and I want to develop a relationship that has all of the power and grace and beauty that I present in my life with my partner. And so I'm with my partner. I'm in another country. She's attending university and we're just like having this argument. And I remember really vividly because I'm like, listen, like we are each other's family and we need to operate as a unit to be that thing. And I remember looking over at her and she was like, I'm sorry, I just don't see you as my family. And I mean, you want to talk about a gut punch? I mean, this is heart-wrenching, right? We've been together for like almost a year, like we're traveling the world together, and I'm putting all of my efforts into this. And this person just didn't see life the way I did. And so what I realized in that exact moment was I was actually betraying myself and grinding and pushing something to work that just wasn't going to work. At that moment in time, it wasn't in alignment. And so I had to make a choice to continue pushing or letting go. And what I did is I said, no, I'm going to continue pushing. I'm going to force this. I'm going to say, hey, this can change. But in reality, it never changed. And me and that person wound up separating because at that time in our lives, it wasn't in alignment. Now, you never know what can happen, but you have to listen to what the present moment tells you. And if you're grinding and you're pushing for something that's not exactly aligned with you and you're not on the same page, the same vision, the same values, I want to really talk about that too. And I'm not even talking about just relationships. In your business, with your relationships, with your friends, and with yourself, you cannot have cognitive dissonance. You have to be, this is who we are and this is where we're going. That's why company culture is so important. So you need to understand, you have to know where you're going and what you're aligned with, and that is your pull. And if you go against that, I promise you the universe is going to kick you in the butt. Now I want to talk to you about a business example where I followed my gut. So I built a brew pub in downtown Las Vegas, and it was the number one brew pub in the city. It was amazing. It stuck around for 10 years. I wound up selling out in the eighth year. Really good call on my part because COVID hit about 6 months later. And I had this brew pub with my best friends. I mean, these guys are the guys that I was working with, we grew up with. Like, they're just amazing people, and I still love them today. And we built this thing. And so the reason why I'm telling you that is these were my people, and my heart was in it with them. But my pull kept saying, you're not aligned on the way you think. They're not as driven in business as you are, and they're not as focused. You have to separate yourself from this if you want to rise. And I wanted to rise. So I had to make this terrible decision, right? I had to walk away from my best friends that I loved so much and was so close and so tight to it. I can remember how it felt. Like, I'm even getting emotional right now because these were four of my best friends. And I was so excited to do this project with them. We brewed out of my garage for 4 years. And we opened up the best brew pub in the city, and it kicked ass. It was amazing. And you know what? I had to look at them and say, hey guys, we're not on the same trajectory, and I can't grow and move if I move on if I'm going to stay with you. And what wound up happening is I had to make a choice to separate. I got a buyout. It was good enough. I moved to San Diego and I started my coaching business. And I can tell you that from that point on, my life has never been the same, and it's done nothing but continuously progress on multiple levels. And that was when I actually listened to the pull, no matter how hard it was. And you think letting go of a relationship is hard, which I should have done that at that time. Letting go of four of your best friends who are still going to be in your life forever. Your relationships usually go away. It was nearly impossible. It killed me inside to do it, but I had to listen to that pull. All right, let me be very clear here. Alignment isn't about avoiding effort. It's about placing your effort where it actually makes a difference. Okay. So this is why it's being used properly, right? Like, this is how we do it is we want to get the most out of the ROI because we know that we're in alignment with what we're supposed to be doing. Okay. Because we've been conditioned, all right, that struggle equals success. Come on. Who doesn't think that struggle equals success? But does stress really give you the results? And that's what I want you to think about. Like, your body and your intuition knows what's right for you. And most people are too distracted from their relationships, their numbing exercises, food, whatever, to really listen to what's going on. And so what I want to tell you is this: life becomes way easier when you start listening to the hell yes inside of you. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not a grind. I work my ass off every day. But what I'm telling you is that when you are pulled and you listen to the hell yes and you follow your intuition and you don't even listen to me or the next guru, you listen to your heart and your soul, not your parents, not your friends, what your inner knowing knows, everything else starts to just fall into place. And when that falls into place, life becomes easy. I don't think you're working any less hard if you follow what I tell you. You're actually probably going to work harder. But what I know is it won't feel like that because you'll be doing what you're driven to do. And that doesn't always mean that you have passion for it. It just means you're following the pull inside of you that says, this is the direction you need to go. Sometimes that could be something as simple as like, hey, this isn't necessarily my passion, but I'm really good at it. And I'm going to build a big amount of wealth doing what I'm kind of brought on this earth to do while I start a passion over here. So understand, I'm not just saying follow your passion here. I'm saying follow the pull of your intuition that says, this is the direction my life path is supposed to go on. All right. This is tip number 2. I want you to just do a quiet check-in. So I'm going to ask you right now, I want you to close your eyes, right? And I want you to get out of your head and into your heart. There's a beautiful saying, and you'll hear me say it forever. The longest mile is from the head to the heart. Okay. And so what we want to do is we want to get out of our heads and into our bodies, and we want to feel. So take a moment. I want you to close your eyes. Okay. I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to ask yourself, does this thing I'm chasing, whatever it is, a woman, a man, a home, a car, whatever it is, a dream, a passion, a business, does it feel, right, like expansion inside of my body? Or does it feel like restriction and contraction? And now expansion will feel light and exciting and a smile on your face and alignment. And contraction is going to feel heavy and resistant and like dread. So I want you to just sit there for a minute. And I want you to breathe. And I want you to envision what it is that you actually are chasing after in your life, whatever it is, a person, an object, a goal, a legacy. And I want you to think to yourself, how does this feel in my body? And if you don't feel lit the F up and you're not like, let's go, then you're not following the right thing. Okay? Because that's what you need to follow in your body. Is this the direction I want to go in? You know, when you want something, I feel like the universe is really conspiring to help you achieve it. And so there's a couple books that I've read. One is The Alchemist. Like, it's just a beautiful journey of somebody just listening to the pull, not even knowing where they're going. Another great book is The Surrender Experiment. I love Michael Singer. He did The Untethered Soul. And I just want you to understand that there is a possibility out there where all this doesn't have to feel so heavy. It can feel much lighter, and you can enjoy this path. And the idea of I have to be strict and I have to do this and it has to be that way, we're all so unique. I am a very unique person. I will grind for a day. Like, I will just work from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. And then I won't work for 3 or 4 days and I'll do whatever. There's other people that they work in blocks. And I just want you to know that you're unique, and you have to realize 2 things. 1, surrender to the universe and listen to the pull, and then get your ass out there and grind in the way that suits you, your body, your intuition, and how you're designed, because we're all different. Okay, I want to give you a third tip, all right? And here it goes. I want you to let go of the shoulds, and I want you to trust the little nudge. That's it. Just because something looks good on paper doesn't mean it's your path. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right for you. So say yes to the things that feel in your body like a hell yes, and say no to the ones that don't. So here's a little body test for you, okay? I want you to stand up, and I want you to close your eyes again. And I want you to ask yourself, whatever it is that's on your mind, is this right for me? Okay? And if your body leans forward, it's often a yes. And if it leans backwards, it's a no. And so what I'm trying to get you to do here is I want you to trust your body. I want you to trust yourself. I have a little side note that's really important. I got a buddy of mine who started out making flip-flops, okay? And he sells those flip-flops for $500 to $5,000 a pair. And he is on back order for 3 months. And this gentleman came from nothing. He even did a little bit of time in prison. And you know what? I said, what was the number one thing that made you successful? And this wasn't just my question. He's been asked it on podcasts. He goes, I didn't listen to anybody. We brought in all these consultants. He goes, screw that. I'm doing it my way. So what I want to share with you is I'm not saying don't take wisdom. Seeking wisdom is one of my most amazing gifts. But I will tell you this right now. I want you to learn to trust yourself. Because when you learn to trust yourself, everything falls into place. And if you look at all the outliers and all the amazing people and all the crazy Albert Einsteins of the world and the Elon Musks and the Martha Becks, they're all outliers and they all think differently. But the one thing they do is they're unique to themselves. So if I can leave you with anything, listen to your body, get out of your head, trust yourself, and follow the pull.